Hello and good evening. You're joining the State of Business with me, Nishani Piguera. First, let's take a look at the headlines tonight. Sri Lanka starts selling sovereign bond in the international market. And Sri Lanka and IMF reach staff-level agreement on extended fund facility. In tonight's headline story, Sri Lanka has started marketing a sovereign bond in the international market. The initial price guidance of the 10-year bond is 6.625%. The price of the bond is expected to be finalized later today. Earlier, the government said it expects to raise $1.5 billion through sovereign bonds in 2017. Meanwhile, the rating agency Fitch Ratings has assigned Sri Lanka's upcoming US dollar-denominated bonds an expected rating of B+. The outlook is stable. The International Monetary Fund team has reached a staff-level agreement with Sri Lankan authorities on the second review under an economic reform program supported by a 3-year extended fund facility arrangement of $1.5 billion. The IMF board is expected to consider Sri Lanka's request for the completion of the second review in June 2017, by which time the new Inland Revenue Act is expected to be submitted to Parliament as a prior action. The new law should pave the way for a durable fiscal consolidation based on revenue mobilization, a key pillar of the government's reform program. The IMF teams had discussions with the Sri Lankan authorities during a visit to Colombo in March and more recently during the spring meetings in Washington, D.C. The IMF team is commending the authorities for resuming accumulating net international reserves as a corrective action for missing the end 2016 target. The reserve accumulation should continue and help reduce Sri Lanka's external vulnerability, the IMF said. In more news tonight, Central Bank says Sri Lanka's external sector demonstrated a modest performance in January 2017. During the month, the trade deficit widened as a result of increased import expenditure and a decline in export earnings. The latest data shows in January, Sri Lanka earned $865 million, which was a 3.8% decline compared to January 2016. Earnings from textiles and garment exports, which account for around 49% of total export earnings, contracted by 8.2% year-on-year to $426 million in January. Meanwhile, expenditure on imports increased substantially by 13.2% to $1.7 billion. India, China, Singapore, UAE and Japan were the main import destinations in January, accounting for about 59% of total imports. Government Medical Officers Association says they will stage the scheduled island-wide strike action tomorrow as the authorities are not willing to address the issues raised by them. They urge the authorities to peopleize the Malapase item.
මේ වෙන විටත් රට දැනුවත් මේ වැඩ වර්ජනය ගැන මේ සඳහා මූලිකම වුණ කාරණා කිහිපයක් තියෙනවා. එනුත් මූලිකම කාරණය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ සයිටම් නැමැති ආයතනය තුලින් මේ රටේ වෛද්‍ය අධ්‍යාපනයටත් ඒ තුලින් අවසානයේදී රෝගීන්ට පුහුණුවලත් සුරක්ෂිත වෛද්‍යවරයෙක්ගෙන් ප්‍රතිකාර ගැනීමේ අයිතිවාසිකමට ඇති වී තිබෙන තර්ජනය. මේ රට හෙට දිනේදී අකර්මණ්‍ය වෙන්න යන තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේකෙදි අපහසුතාවයට පත් වෙන්නේ මේ රටේ අහිංසක රෝගීන්.
Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has approved a time-based optional tariff for the single-phase domestic consumers, which was earlier limited to only for the consumers who have 3-phase connections and other large-scale consumers. The time-of-use tariff will benefit domestic users and it will reduce power usage during peak time and promote power usage during off-peak time. The decision has been taken after observing an increase in peak demand as a result of a rising number of electric vehicles in Sri Lanka. It will benefit the electric vehicle users as they can charge their vehicles at a lower cost now. It is estimated 4,000 electric vehicles are currently on the roads. According to the introduced TOU, a consumer will be charged only 13 rupees per unit during the off-peak hours, which is from 10:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m., 25 rupees per unit during day, that is from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and 54 rupees per unit during the peak hours, which is from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. A monthly fixed charge of 540 rupees will be also applied to the time of use consumer. The financial results of Sri Lankan Airlines show that the company has incurred a loss of 6.49 billion rupees in the 2016-17 financial year. Last year, the loss was 2.9 billion rupees. However, the airline says based on unaudited accounts, the total operational revenue increased to 136.68 billion rupees from 129.48 billion rupees. It said that the depreciation of the Sri Lanka rupee against the dollar had a significant negative impact on the airline, as a majority of the costs in the global airline businesses are USD dominated. Time for us to slip in for a short break. Stay with us for more news on the other side. Welcome back to the State of Business. The CEO of RIL Property Limited, Hiroshini Fernando, says that they will expand their operations to address the supply gap for rising demand for the commercial office space in Colombo. RIL Properties recently listed their shares on the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The management of the RIL property took part in the traditional bell ringing ceremony at the Colombo Stock Exchange today. RIL Property recently issued 120 million ordinary voting shares through an initial public offering to raise 960 million rupees.
Currently, our project is under mixed development. The project at Park Street. We would be looking at the options available because we would be studying the market, looking at what is required. Immediate focus is only the refurbishment of Readyware building, which is again a commercial space. The land area which is underutilized, we would be looking at what the market needs and we would be addressing accordingly. But currently our focus is commercial space because we are very focused on it. So we will anyway watch the market and accordingly do the supply to bridge the gap.
Meanwhile, speaking at this occasion, the chairman of the CSC said the RIL will become an attractive stock, especially for the foreign investor.
This will be a very attractive company for foreign investors. So we would, as Colombo Stock Exchange, really like to see that happening, and there will be a lot of demand for this type of stocks. I also like to say that you will be hereafter enjoying a lot of benefits as a listed company, a lot of brand image getting. As much as that happens, there is obligation for the company that is going to be listed in Colombo Stock Exchange.
The Colombo Stock Exchange has appointed Ray Abeyewardene as the chairman of the board of directors of the CSC with effect from 5th May 2017. Abeyewardene succeeds Vajra Kulatilaka, who steps down as a chairman on the conclusion of the customary 3-year term. Ray Abeyewardene is a managing director of Equity Partners and has over 30 years of extensive experience in the Sri Lankan capital market, primarily as a stockbroker and since 2009 as an investment banker. He is also a past chairman of the Colombo Stockbrokers Association. Stocks closed on positive grounds today. Details after the break. Welcome back to the show. The trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 38.59 points to close at 6,602.44, and the S&P SL 20 index gained 27.5 points to close the session at 3,785.15. Turnover was 1 billion rupees and 161.2 million shares were traded. And here's a look at the day's forex rates. And with that, we sign off from the newsroom for tonight. Do join us again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching. Good night.